Oh, good afternoon. It's Bob Vaughan again with Freedom Now Community. We're going to have another little series on sales. And today what we're going to talk about is objections, or what I like to say, rather than objections, is areas of concern. Just makes more sense to me. Objections, to me, it was too hard a word. And when I was trying to learn about how to deal with them, it was too much to overcome. So I changed it to areas of concern. See if that works better for you. All right, let's walk through a little bit. First of all, Alan and I were talking about this. If people do not come up with areas of concern, then they're not interested in what you're doing. They're not interested in what you're trying to promote, or they're not interested in what you're trying to share. Because they have to weigh, we all do that, you got to weigh this and this. And if you don't have anything to weigh, you don't do it. You know what I'm saying? That's why I've always said that these ice cream places that have 35 flavors, I said, that's too tough. You should just walk in and there should be chocolate and vanilla. Because you're going to go in there and get it down to 2 anyway. You go down and get 2, and then you make a decision. You can't make a decision on 35 flavors. It's just too much for our mind to deal with. So, you're in any kind of a situation. Let's take a house, for example. Only because I'm real familiar with that sort of situation. Somebody comes into a house, and you walk into a room, dining room for example, and they're looking around at it. How do you know they like that dining room? Or don't like that dining room? You got to ask them. So what you say is, how do you feel about this room? And why do you do it that way? How do you feel about my vitamins? How do you feel about my insurance? How do you feel about this car? Feel. Big mistake people make is they say, what do you think? Don't ask people what they think, because they'll start thinking. And you don't want them thinking. You want them feeling, because remember we said, and if you watch the previous module, we talked about people feeling and people wanting emotionally to purchase something. So we want to ask them how they feel. And they'll say, it's too big. Or it's more often, it's too small. The room is too small. So, is that an objection? Not necessarily. Could be an excuse. How do you know which it is? So you say to them, if it weren't for the size of the room, is the room adequate for what you're trying to do? Oh yeah, everything's perfect. It's just too small. Now you know for sure it wasn't an excuse. For some reason, the dining room is too small. Why is it too small? You didn't ask that. So here's how you ask it. Don't say, why is it too small? Because you got them thinking again. You don't want them thinking. So you say to them very nicely, apparently you have some reason for feeling that way. May I ask what it is? Well, yeah, my grandmother gave me a piano and I inherited it, and it's 15 feet wide and this is only 12 and Okay, so you're going to run out and get them a bigger dining room? No. You're going to demonstrate the rest of the home and find another room that's 15 feet wide and put the dining room or put the piano in that room. That's the solution. But at least in our little scenario I just went through with you of that area of concern, it really was an area of concern. It wasn't an excuse, and it was because they wanted to put their piano in that room and it wouldn't fit. Okay, that makes sense. Now, let's take it back. You ask them the same question. And they say, well, it's really not, you say to them the same thing. Apparently, you have some reason for feeling this way. Yes. There's not enough electrical plugs in the room. Well, if it weren't for the fact that there weren't enough electrical plugs, does the room still meet your needs? Well, no. I don't like hardwood floors. Well, if it weren't for the fact that this room had hardwood floors, does the room meet your needs? No, there's not enough light in here. Well, if you go to 3 or 4, these aren't objections, they're excuses. They want out. So if you were talking to them about your business, your home-based business, or if you were talking to them about insurance or cars or clothing or anything else you're trying to talk to them about, and they go through 3 or 4, they're not going to buy. But they won't tell you why. So they're lying to you. They're in a situation where they just want out. So now, let's go back through it again. You're dealing with them on a business, a home-based business. And you say, you got along for a while, and then you stop and say, do you feel like this business would work for you? And they say no. And you look at each other. No. And there's silence. And you go, oh my. And then you say to them, apparently you have some reason for feeling that way. May you tell me what it is? And they say, well, I don't have any time for something like this. If it weren't for the fact that you didn't have time, would you still be interested in the business? Well, I don't like pyramids. Well, I've never seen a pyramid. But you don't do that. You go back and say, if it weren't for the fact that you felt like it was a pyramid, would the business make sense to you? Yes, it would. So now what you do is you go over here and you deal with the pyramid issue. And you sit down and talk to them and explain that General Motors is a pyramid. There's only one CEO at the top and then all the workers. And you say to them, is this what you refer to as a pyramid? No. Well, I meant a pyramid where it's a scam to get people in. And I said, well, that's a different story. That thing is where it's a Ponzi scheme and there's no products being sold. Money is just moved as long as people keep coming in. Is that what you mean by a pyramid? Yes. Well, as I explained to you a moment ago, we have product number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and if people don't use and buy the products, we don't have a business. So this one certainly couldn't be a pyramid. Let me ask you this now. If you feel comfortable that this is not a pyramid, are you interested in our business? So what I've done is I've taken area of concerns, and the first thing you do is set it aside, continue your sales presentation. Come back when it's real, come back and deal with it. A lot of us take the first no. Now remember something. I want you to put this in your subconscious mind. No is nothing more than a request for further information. A no is nothing more than a request for further information. And the way you present it makes you an amateur or a professional. And a professional simply takes the question, the no, finds out what it is, sets it over here, sells the rest of it, then you've only got one thing to sell, not everything else. Because he's already said, if you take care of this, I'm good. Does that make sense to you? So we've taken areas of concern, set them aside, go on down, come back, deal with that. I think you'll get a lot more success if you learn how to deal with that. I hope it was fun today. I hope that helped you a little bit. And next time somebody says no, just say further information. Please visit our blog. We'd like some comments about what we're doing. So go to Freedom Now Community and go to our blog. Have a terrific day.